Dr. Elizalde, it's very nice to be with you.
The pleasure is mine.
So here we are now entering month 19 of the pandemic. There are people in the state who think there never was a pandemic. There are people who think that several months ago it ended. The reality is that you and yours in the district are still dealing with the byproducts of this public health emergency.
That's absolutely true. And I'm looking forward to a day where I can actually say I'm a superintendent where there is not a pandemic, because that is yet to come during the amount of time that I've been the superintendent in Austin ISD.
You're now in the second year in this job.
Yes, sir.
And the whole time you've been in this job has been defined in part by your response. You've been on defense in a lot of ways, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But the success of the district in being able to manage this is actually quite something. As we sit here today on the 27th of September, there's an Austin American Statesman story calling out Austin ISD for having, through a mix of policies and probably, let's just say, because this is how it always goes, some luck, right? The lowest case rate per 1,000 students of the districts in Central Texas. And they attribute that success, at least in part, to the decision to put a mask policy in place, contrary to what state leadership wanted or hoped or demanded, right? Could you talk a little bit about that? It said that you are at just about 10 cases per 1,000. The state average is 28 cases per 1,000. Among the neighboring districts, Leander is up around 70 cases per 1,000. So you're really, it's impressive by any standard, but it's impressive especially relative to other districts in the community. Can you talk about why you think that is?
Absolutely. First and foremost, it truly is a community response.
Right.
While our community may not all be in agreement, I think the uniqueness of the community of Austin Independent School District is the ability to wade through disagreements and then come together to support something that you may not be in agreement with, but you recognize is in the best interest of the entire organization.
Right.
And so I think that starts with our community. I think our Board of Trustees that ratified the decision that I made on August the 9th, I think our staff, our campus principals, our teachers. You know, there was a study, and I won't be able to tell you which study it was, but there was a study that indicated parents listen more to their teachers than they do to their doctors. So I think utilizing the human capital that Austin Independent School District has is what has helped us make this mask protocol a reality.
But you did, Superintendent, but you didn't do Mother May I with the community.
That's correct.
Leadership matters, right? You made the decision, and then you brought the community along. And as I understand the polling right now, 7 in 10, 8 in 10 in the community, in the district, support the decision that you all made.
There were a couple of things, though, that we did that helped that. Because leadership isn't a title, it is action, and it is about relationships.
Right.
And so we brought data forward along with the relationships. We also did surveying before making the decision. We gathered information, and then I think something that was vital in our process is we made the decision prior to the first day of school. This allowed community members to talk amongst themselves, have conversations, frankly, to go through all of those periods of time. And anyone, when change occurs and you're going through a lot of emotions on top of the fact that we are still in a pandemic, and now someone may be requiring you to do something with your children that you may not be in agreement with, it gives us time to process that. And I think that is one of the many reasons that we've been successful.
Another thing I have to say, Superintendent, is you had time to plan. Unlike your predecessor, who, along with every other superintendent, along with every one of us, were hit by this pandemic in March of 2020 with absolutely no playbook, absolutely no preparation. By now, you had the benefit of a year in the job, a year within this public health emergency. You were able to solve for a lot of stuff in planning. And so again, coming out ahead of the beginning of school meant you had a plan, you could communicate the plan, you could execute the plan. Plan may not work, right? Sometimes plans don't work. But at least that gave you some comfort in knowing that this was a thoughtful, deliberate, intentional process.
Well, and I would say, Evan, part of that data that I referenced earlier that we used to make this decision, myself as an educator, when I listen to conferences or trainings where they tell me the research says, you know, there's really only The only real research data I'm interested when I'm a practitioner is that from my immediate community.
Yep.
And so to your point, we were actually able to use the data from the 2021 school year,
Right.
not from other places, but from here, from
Yeah.
Austin ISD, and that when we were utilizing those masks, which no one had any issue with at that time, we were able to use that and communicate that in a positive way, rather than saying long-term research from throughout the country is saying this. Folks in Austin ISD wanted to know, what did the data say here? And we did use that to help us plan.
When you talk about community, this is a big community. There are lots of constituents within this community. There are obviously the students and the families and the district. There are community leaders, influencers, people in political and elective appointed office at the local level, at the county level, at the state level. But you also have staff, faculty, non-instructional staff who are a major part of this district and are a big part of the success of this district. If you put a plan in place that they didn't embrace, it wouldn't be successful. It couldn't be successful.
Absolutely.
On
true.
college campuses all over the state, Superintendent, there are faculty who are rebelling against the lack of mask policies or vaccine mandates because the state has said to public universities, you can't, and so the public universities haven't. Faculty are very upset. To what degree have the teachers and non-instructional staff in this district been fully on board? Do they feel safe? Have they raised concerns? Talk about that.
Well, we've heard very little in terms of a negative response to this requirement. In fact, we've heard quite the opposite. We heard a great deal of success from staff members indicating a thank you to us for stepping out there and saying we were going to do this. Because again, when we did do our surveys, we already knew that we had a guiding coalition of individuals who knew that the data said this was what we needed to do. But I would also say, because you've alluded to this a couple of times, it isn't the superintendent, it is the superintendency. And so by that I mean, I can say that, I'm going to be bold, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But to your point,
right.
if the chiefs from each of the departments aren't truly, authentically understanding and embracing and leading it, it will fail. If principals do not authentically embrace and lead, it will fail. And so I really mean this genuinely, that this really was truly a team effort, and all of the decisions are made with my executive leadership team, and that's a representation of all of the departments, and we meet every 2 weeks, and this was something we actually met weekly on, not every 2 weeks, to arrive at where we did.
So the team made this decision to get behind a policy that was not what the state wanted for school districts. Do you think the governor has made it harder for you to keep kids safe and educated? Do you think the commissioner has made it harder for you to keep kids safe and educated?
It does not give me any pleasure to respond to that question by saying, yes, I do. I never.
But yes, you do.
But yes, I do think it has made it more difficult.
Yeah.
I work really hard not to try to guess what people's intentions are. It's really important as an educator, first and foremost, to always have positive suppositions. But in response to the question, yes, it has made it harder. And it is an opportunity for me to re-emphasize the fact that I really wasn't expecting neither the commissioner nor the governor to mandate masks themselves. I was simply having faith that we would actually enact the fact that there's local control.
Right, let them stand out of the way and allow those being governed to be closest to government, right?
And to the implementation of those decisions that we're making.
This traditional idea, as you say, of local control.
Correct.
Letting communities make decisions what works for them, what might work for the Amarillo School District or the Newton School District isn't necessarily what works for the Austin School District.
100%.
Yeah, right. Let me ask you about the academic achievement question in the midst of this pandemic, because we've heard a lot about learning loss. Learning loss, a phrase that's been thrown around, but like a lot of other phrases that get thrown around, there isn't a whole lot that people understand about what that really means. You've put some numbers to this. Third grade reading in the last 2 years, which includes not entirely the pandemic period, but includes the pandemic period, is down, I believe, 8%. Third grade math skills, again, as you have measured them, are down about half. Do you say this is the pandemic having an impact on our kids is there a problem larger, more systemic or endemic that has resulted in this?
So the pandemic absolutely has had a huge effect. It is not the only effect.
Right.
And you see that as you disaggregate the data further than just at the all student level. Right. So the numbers you're sharing are, of course, the fact that we've had these losses as we look at all of our students. When you begin to look at student groups, whether that's economically disadvantaged, Latino, African American, Native American, and so on, students that receive special education, right. Those numbers and those drops are even larger.
Right. The racial disparities that existed, the socioeconomic disparities that existed before the pandemic
are now larger.
They've gotten worse.
They have gotten worse. Right. Now, the term itself, learning loss, I take issue.
Okay.
Because while students may have spent more time at home and may not have learned a prescribed set of curricular knowledge and skills that we in Texas call the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, to say that there was loss, I personally think it's offensive.
Why is that?
Because there's a lot of learning that went on. It just may not be being measured by traditional and standardized assessments. I think our kids spent more time with their families than they ever did before. I think they were working on recipes and measuring how many cups of this ingredient or that ingredient. So now I think it's incumbent upon us to take those real life learnings and actually translate them into academic successes.
But if you simply put, Superintendent, side by side where kids might be academically had there not been a pandemic, and where kids are today, while they certainly got things out of the last 18, 19 months that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten, there doesn't seem to be any indication that they're where they would have been.
100%.
Right, and that's not learning loss?
Well, what learning?
Right.
Again, I think if you're looking at the consistent measure of that assessment, that the answer is yes. Now, from the idea of always make sure you look at a crisis and ask yourself, what can we learn from it? Well, what we can learn from it is our students haven't across the board been doing as well as they could have been pre-pandemic.
Right.
We now have an opportunity to learn about those things. And what I do think the pandemic has allowed us to do is uncover the disparate performance that we have in student groups. And so I think it has unveiled some things about our academic performance that previously we were able to use our entire student performance to mask some inequities.
It's a silver lining.
It is a silver lining.
To have the light shined on these things that you have to work on now.
Correct.
Right. Do you think virtual learning, generally speaking, is a positive? Again, I go back to your predecessor and every superintendent in March of 2020 for whom there was no playbook in this moment. And as much as we had talked about online learning and everyone's talking about it in the abstract, no one was prepared for this, right? We weren't prepared for the curriculum to pivot. We were not prepared for access to devices. We've had a broadband access crisis in the state for some time, again, disproportionate based on race and geography and poverty. That was also exacerbated during this period of time. So was virtual learning sufficient as a platform, do you think?
Oh, it was not sufficient. Yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah. If you evaluate data from Austin ISD or anywhere else, right. By and far, students that continue to attend in person compared to performance of students who are in virtual settings, there is no comparison. And so it was not. Again, I'm always going to look for, and what did we learn from this? Right. And so there are some positive aspects. I don't think we should take the overgeneralization approach that I can recall a college professor, Professor Yates at UT Austin, saying, never take an experience of one and call that a generalization. Right. So we have a couple of kids here and there who benefited from a virtual setting for a variety of reasons. Those are now sometimes tending to be that which we are speaking of, how great virtual instruction was, and we're ignoring what the other 97% of our population actually experienced. And so there are lessons to be learned, which I think mean we need to be more creative and individualizing certain aspects. And I think virtual instruction should allow us to do some different things. Do we need to suspend kids? Do we need an alternative school? Can we pipe students into certain instructional arrangements when I don't have enough students, let's say, to qualify for calculus at one particular campus, do I not offer it at all, or can I use virtual instruction for us to to expand those opportunities?
So this is one of those ways in which, as we say, the after is going to be different from the before. We will
100%.
take the experience of the public health emergency and apply the positive lessons, right? Learn from the negatives, but also apply the positives. And so when you come out of the pandemic, hopefully this is soon, it won't simply revert back to what it was like in February of 2020. It's going to be different.
Absolutely.
You're convinced?
I am absolutely convinced of that, just by the fact that our kids now have devices. I mean, there were little things, Evan, things like us being questioned or questioning ourselves when summer came.
Yep.
Let's pick up the devices that the kids had. And for the first time, our team says, why?
Right.
Well, because we've always picked up devices at the end of a school year. Yes, but might our students have access to things over the summer if we let them keep the devices?
Right.
So, you know, I also remember a principal mentor of mine when I was becoming a principal, who we were worried because actually, and here we are in this beautiful library here at Menchaca Elementary School, who we had a librarian who's like, oh my gosh, we're missing books. And the principal said, that means those books are somewhere.
They're with students, probably, presumably, right?
Same kind of approach with regard to devices.
Now, of course, Austin has the benefit of being socioeconomically ahead of many other places.
True.
Did you find access to devices and access to Wi-Fi was a problem for you? I mean, obviously, it's a much more significant problem other places, but that was still a problem for you.
It was a huge problem.
Right. Unexpectedly or expectedly?
I think to some extent it was unexpected for me. Having come from Dallas Independent School District, where it was a huge percentage of our kiddos' families who did not have access to that. I think I was expecting a much smaller percentage, and what I recognized is we're still looking at about 50% of our kids not having had sustainable access to the internet, right? And so even our deployment of either our buses, which was very innovative by my predecessor, or moving to hotspots, which we went to across the board. A hotspot is not sufficient when you've got 2 or 3 children in a family that are all trying to do work.
Right.
And so this whole movement towards operation connectivity, where we can have this truly be available to all families, I think needs to continue to become the conversation of, just like we have running water, we all need to have our families have access to broadband.
Right. You said earlier that there were some things that we saw during the pandemic, but that actually predate the pandemic as challenges for a school district like this one. You've been dropping enrollment in this district long before the pandemic. I mean, go back to 2015. I believe there was 1 year in which enrollment went up. So the idea that somehow, well, enrollment dropped during the pandemic, that was just specific to this. No, you've actually been dealing with this for some time. To what do you attribute that, understanding that you were not here for most of those years? But surely you've thought about it. What do you attribute it to, and how do you approach it? Is it just that our district is going to lose students, and that's something we have to accept? Is there work you can do? What is it?
So, first of all, we don't come up with simple solutions to complex problems.
Right.
And this is a very complex situation. There are multiple factors that have been having this effect on our enrollment. So gentrification, has that had an effect? Absolutely, it's had an effect. And you can see that not just in enrollment, but specifically in where the loss of enrollment has occurred. And by that I mean we are actually dropping in the percentage of students that are economically disadvantaged in our district. Well, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that there's quite a few kiddos whose families can no longer continue.
So they're being pushed out of the city.
They're being pushed out of the city. They can't afford to live in the areas that they have formerly lived in, either because of rent, because of housing prices, because of taxes in our area. The other one is the proliferation of charter schools, and specifically where that proliferation has occurred. I also don't think it's beneficial for us to villainize charter schools. However,
you might be the only superintendent who doesn't.
Well, because I look at it from this vantage point. I see every obstacle as an opportunity. Why is someone choosing a charter school? We have to dig down and pick up the mirror, because parents are choosing what they think is most important for their children. Right. That means there's something in some of our schools that we are not providing or that we're doing in a way that is not being received
Well, this is the argument that charter advocates would make, is that this is about the market. And the market is telling public education, you're not doing a good enough job. That's why something else has had to come up as an alternative.
Except that's not the complete story. Yeah. I would agree that that is part of the story. Right. And the reason I say I must embrace that is that it's very easy to throw stones. Yeah. People don't need me to just complain and whine. Nobody's going to want to work with us if all we're going to do is whine about things and complain about them. It's what are we going to do to make the conditions different at our schools such that parents want to remain? Because one thing is we need to service the students that we have currently too. I've also heard from some of our parents that are like, don't forget about me when you say you're going out to reconnect with families who used to be with us. Well, don't forget about me.
The ones
I'm
who
here
stuck
now.
Who stuck with
We're
you.
still with you. Make sure you're servicing us. And the second part of when I said that's not the whole story, funding is a big issue that I take issue with because charter schools are getting a completely different set of funding mechanisms and their accountability systems are also different.
And now you sound like every other superintendent.
And now I sound like everybody else.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's important to do the whole picture.
Right. You understand that what this gets to, and this is a good way for us to transition from talking about the pandemic year to public ed generally, that this gets to the question of whether public education institutionally is doing a good job. And there are a lot of people who would say, if you stand back and look at whether the public education system is doing a good job, it's kind of an incomplete grade, right? It's a mixed bag. What do you think? Do you think that there are things that public education, not so much the district that you lead, but institutionally public ed, should be doing better at this point than it's not doing?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think, there's no hesitation that as a public school system.
So give me a couple, 2, 3, tell me some things.
Yeah, so let me give you an example then. When we look at how we fund students that are receiving a variety of different services that they need, we haven't changed some of those weights in decades. So when you talk about students that may be needing some additional support through 504 plans, which have now just absolutely exploded in Texas, right? While I may not be a special education student, I may need some accommodations and some modifications. What are the supports that we can provide and how do we fund them? Another example is there's some very good practices, but we absolutely put no money behind them as a state. So reading academies is another unfunded mandate, right? The science of reading and keeping up with how and what we learn about teaching children how to read and why that's important, because third grade reading on grade level still continues to track with college readiness and college going culture, right? So we talk a big game in Texas. Right. Our dollars aren't there.
But Superintendent, I watched the legislative session in 2019 when HB 3 passed, and I was told that they were going to put more than $11 billion into public education for 2 years, re-upped it again this last session, or as much of it as they needed to re-up, because I think it wasn't exactly the same bill as funding mechanism as the last time. But in any case, they've now finally, it took them a long time, but they finally put dollars to match ambition for achievement in public education. People celebrated it. I'm cynical enough to believe that anytime anything's called historic, it almost certainly isn't. But the reality is this was described as a historic investment. You don't seem satisfied by that.
I'm going to be a little cynical myself for just a moment, although I really don't like being cynical. I don't think we should be thankful for crumbs.
You consider $11 billion to be crumbs?
When you then follow it up in a COVID pandemic and you now remove all of those funds and tell me you're going to use them to hold harmless when we all know we weren't going to have students attending in person. So in the end, we really virtually came out even. How is that millions of dollars?
You don't think the state is doing enough to fund?
I do not.
To fund what you need, not just over and above, but the basics.
No, I do not. And I'll give one other example. Most of our funding in all of House Bill 3 is a result of after the fact. So when you get kids meeting CCMR, we'll give you these dollars. Who does that? If it's an investment, it's not an investment. I would argue it's a reward. Now, I get the whole idea about incentivizing the behaviors and the practices that you think are good for kids.
Well, the reality is you came from a school district, the Dallas Independent School District, where pay for performance was the brand, right? Dr. Hinojosa was held up as the example of the 2019 session. The Dallas model was, you know, this is how this goes. Are you on board with that idea, pay for performance?
I am on board with that idea in Dallas Independent School District.
Not here.
That's correct. And part of that is we started this conversation, Evan, about local control.
Right.
There is a reason why there are local independent school districts. I work for a board of trustees who represent community members.
Yep.
It is not about me. This is what we need. This is what our community thinks that they need. If the community, through our trustees, came to one day saying, we want pay for performance, then Stephanie Elizalde will be pay for performance, because I know I was on the ground level of that. However, I'm also not going to say that's the only way that we improve student academic outcomes.
Right.
Because then we can't call ourselves innovative educators.
So that's not the message you're hearing in any case from this board or this community?
Absolutely not.
Right. You know, the discussion in the legislature is often, Dr. Elizalde, is money the only answer? If money were the only answer, states that spent more on public education per student would have the highest achievement, and if you look at the 50 states, that's not the case. So do you take the, because I've heard you talk about resources. Mm-hmm. Is that it for you? Or are there other things non-financial that you need from the state, from the policy apparatus that you're not getting that you think would allow you to do a better job?
So I don't think money in isolation by itself, and I don't think looking at it from only one lens is also a good way to say, so money isn't important or money is important. I think we have to move away from either or, and it has to be both and. And by that I mean, true to the research that you referenced, Eric Hanushek is famous for his research around money really doesn't matter, although in his latest work, you know, you see some changes with regard to...
Well, non-financial stuff doesn't pay the light bill. I mean, we acknowledge that.
Correct. However, if you look at student academic achievement across the state of Texas and connect economically disadvantaged communities with academic outcomes, we are absolutely the quintessential state of predictability.
It looks like a correlation.
It sure looks like it based on anybody else's study, right? And so it's two things. We do need some dollars. We need more dollars. But I also think we should be held accountable for how we spend those dollars, because those are the two issues. It's we need more money, and it's important how you spend the money.
So you have no problem as a superintendent with accountability?
Absolutely not.
So the TEA's system of assessing through various measures the performance of schools and districts, which again, not every superintendent likes, and a number of parents don't like it, you're good with it?
I don't like it. I know why it exists. Yeah. And I'm old enough to remember a day that when we weren't looking at student group performance, we had performance that was even more abysmal than what we're dealing with today. And so, do I think it's the best way to do it? No, I don't think it's the best way to do it. Do I agree with an A through F? I don't agree with an A through F. I don't think if it doesn't work at an individual student level, why would it work at a school level? However, I also think my job is to not use that as an excuse, but rather to create systems where people are the center of our decision making, such that our students can perform on any assessment, no matter what it is. And the way you do that is by doing authentic teaching and learning.
Of course, you understand that the argument is by giving a school district a C or giving a school district a D, that you're forcing the district to be accountable to parents, and ultimately good change may occur as a result of that. And
I would say all we have to do is look at the states that enacted that prior to Texas, and the results do not bear out.
Don't bear out. We just have a couple minutes left, Dr. Elizalde. I'm interested in who you are as a person. I think since you got here a year ago, you might think people in the district know who you are, know your story, but the fact is we were all locked at our houses for the last year. Didn't actually get to know you. You were born and raised in Laredo. You went to UTSA and got a biology degree. And you were thinking about going to medical school. But in the meantime, before you went to medical school, you thought, I'm going to apply for a job as a dance teacher because you had taken dance growing up. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. I had studied dance with and I have to say her name because she was an icon in Laredo, Texas, Altagracia Asios Garcia School of Dance. And my mom worked an extra job so that I could attend classical ballet and flamenco and have dance lessons, right. Correct. And so I thought, well, there's a dance teacher position in the newspaper.
Right, Southwest ISD in San Antonio.
Southwest ISD in San Antonio. And I went to talk to them about being the dance teacher position, and they explained to me that I actually needed a degree in dance for that to be a reality. But they looked at my resume and said, well, hold up though. We're about to start an anatomy and physiology class. We really need a high school science teacher. How about that?
Yeah.
And I went, you know what?
Sure.
Let me give it a shot.
Sure. And you enjoyed it. I
walked into that classroom and I had to recognize that all of those years I was playing teacher in the backyard at 3414 Buena Vista in Laredo, Texas, I had been, I think, fighting against what was in my gut all those years, which was that I really wanted to be a teacher.
Right, so you served as a teacher, you served as a principal, you served as an administrator all this time. You went from Southwest to San Antonio ISD, you went up to Dallas and did the job you did working under Dr. Hinojosa and the district there. And so now you come to Austin. This has been your career. It's turned out well for you and gone the way you thought it would, maybe, right, after all these years?
Well, I don't know when I don't recall early on in my career saying I wanted to be a superintendent. Yeah. I remember being a teacher and seeing assistant principals and then saying, I think I want to be an assistant principal, and then working towards an assistant principalship and so on and so on. I think it wasn't until I got to Dallas ISD that I actually then thought this could be a reality, that I could be a superintendent of schools somewhere, and that I could have a larger impact. Because we all have our ideas of what we would do if we were in the chair. Well, if I were the assistant principal, right. If I were the principal, and then you get into the role, and it's not quite as simple as you thought it was going to be either. There are a whole lot of other factors and a lot of issues you deal with that you never see because great leaders never show them to you. They just deal with them. But I'm honored, humbled, and just excited that I get to serve in Austin ISD. I think there are a whole lot of people that would like to serve in Austin ISD on most days. So I really do feel it an opportunity to serve and to help build on the previous success that this district has had and to become the urban school district where folks will come to see us and see our principals and see our teachers and learn from us in how to take a truly diverse community and have outstanding academic outcomes for every single student.
Last thing I want to ask you, if we're sitting here a year from now, hopefully we're past the pandemic at that point, we're back to something that looks like normal, how will you know you've succeeded this year? What will be the things that will tell you we've done what we needed to do? What are your KPIs? What are your metrics for success?
Well, we do have an official scorecard. And
I guess I'm asking what yours are.
Well, so I'm going to go back to something Michael Hinojosa taught me. And we've got this triangle, and students are right in the middle of this triangle. Yeah. Student academic outcomes have to improve for me to say that I've been successful. We have to recognize why we exist. And we need all of the other stuff in order for that academic outcome to be real and to be true. Yeah. But we can't take our eye off the ball. We exist to ensure a level playing field such that every student who chooses to go to college and do any post-secondary work has the skills and the will to do that. That's us. Other metrics are going to be, at the very top of this triangle is my board of trustees. I want them to be proud of the work that we're doing together. The other side are staff. I want staff to feel good about being educators in Austin ISD. I want them to be proud rather than saying, oh, I work at Austin ISD. I want it to be, I work and serve in Austin ISD. And the other is our entire community. And I want our community to continue to want to support and embrace the work that we're doing. We are very, very fortunate in Austin ISD. The number of philanthropists, the number of businesses, the number of individuals that simply want to help our district improve is like no other place I've been. Truly, that has been an experience that I have enjoyed.
Great. All right, Dr. Elizalde, thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.